Hello, gorgeous people. Welcome to Peaceful Rebellion. Well, we're here with Sal, and we are talking. The title of this chat is The Battle for the Heart of Humanity. Now, how about that for a title? So, why don't we just get straight into it? Is everything all right with you, Sal? Is life good?
Life is extremely good for me personally, yes. I wish I could say the same for the rest of the UK, but for me, it's very good.
True, yeah. We're,
Yeah,
we're in difficult times, are we not?
we most definitely are. This title, it only came to me this morning because I thought I was asking with, so I just like Gordon, I am connected to a higher intelligence, and I I seldom do anything without asking what he would like me to do. So I said, right, do I need to write an article now? I just haven't just written one. He said, yes. So I said, well, what's it about? And I'd written this label some time back. I I must have written that 6 months ago. It was on my phone. So I was just going through all the possibilities of what I would write about. And it clicked on now. In fact, I actually saw it. I saw it before. And straight away, I knew that that was it. Sort of didn't know, but I felt it. But I worked through the list anyway, and sure enough, that's the one. And that's the one in which I'm going to write an article about. But now that you and I are speaking, I thought this would be a wonderful title
Mhm.
because truly this is where we are. We are at this place where there is a battle for the heart of humanity. Because, contrary to popular opinion, humanity's heart has by and large been absent for the last 10,000 years. Sure, we get little connections here and there, but seldom do we have the heart connection available in our day-to-day encounters. And we seldom have that heart connection with ourselves, let alone anybody else. I mean, how many people listening here can put their hand up and say, I love myself? Let's not go the whole hog. I love most of the things about myself. Yeah. I mean, if there are as many of you listening, share, say, yay, I love myself. That would be great to hear. It would be great to hear. My experience is that most people are very self-critical, very self-judgmental. They dislike their look. They dislike perhaps the way they relate with others. They imagine all sort of someone is thinking this or that about me. And so we have a compulsion where we need to change ourselves to fit into the mold of another human being. And the difficulty that we have is not new. This has been developing and growing over the last 10,000 years. I'm assuming that most of the people who would listen to us here can think outside of the box, even if it's just a little bit. And so my connection with my higher, it's not my higher self, okay? It's something I am connected with, bonded with, Charlie. So my connection with Charlie tells me, he's been telling me for years, that humanity has been here for the last 550 million years. 550 million years ago, we were herbivores. We really were just a group of simians who used to eat leaves and whatnot, bark, whatever there was going around. And then these aliens, which I actually call the true humans, some of them, a small splinter of them, came to this earth at the time. They were looking for gold and something else, magnesium. It was a magnesium isotope. And they thought, they had this great idea that they would convert those simians by inserting or blending within them, splicing 1.5% of their DNA. And that's all it took. 1.5% from these true humans who have been in this galaxy for the last 50 odd billion years. I know you see some people will say, hold on a minute, but the universe came about through the Big Bang 13.5 years ago. Sorry, the universe has been here a heck of a long time. In fact, the underlying matrix of the universe is infinite. It's been here, as far as we're concerned, forever. But the matter within the universe, that's been here much shorter periods of time, because matter is constantly transforming, changing, etc. Anyway, I digress. So 550 million years ago, we were herbivores. And there's one defining feature of herbivores. They stay together in packs, in groups, because that is where safety is. And what keeps them, what biologically keeps them as part of the group, is fear. So there is a very powerful impulse to be part of the group. So over those 550 million years, we gradually changed. 110 million years ago, we already were very, very developed. We were well on our way towards becoming carnivores. We were still mixing, but we were moving in that direction. We still had tails, we still had fur, but we were most definitely highly intelligent. And at that point, there was a split in humanity. Some of them went into lagoons, into the rivers, and gradually they evolved into what today we know as the dolphins, from the river dolphins all the way to the big whale dolphins. They're all part of the same mammal family, and they are our cousins. They are humanity's cousins, or should I say, we are their cousins. Take your pick. So they followed a separate route, and rather than develop their mind, they develop their emotions, and they manipulate the world through sound. We manipulate the world through our hands. So we have evolved, we split up and evolved in different ways. And if you really focus on dolphins, you will realize there's truth in what I'm sharing with you. When Charlie first told me, I said, what? That's not possible. What are you talking about? How can we come from dolphins? Or how can dolphin and I, how can we share the same thing? What we share is that 1.5% DNA from the aliens. Mm-hmm. And the one thing we know about the genetical body, whether we're human or mammals, is that we all evolve according to the niche in our environment. So, I mean, if you look at a cow is like, you say, oh, it's got hoofs. You take that hoof off, as I have done, cooked it, and they've got all the bones for fingers inside those hoofs. We're all built out of the same pattern. What separates us, the dolphins, and humanity is that 1.5%, alien 1.5%. Anyway, so here today, technically speaking, we are now carnivores. As far as the structure of the human digestive system is concerned, we are carnivores. The fact that we're still eating vegetables doesn't deny the fact that we're designed to be meat eaters. But, which is where I was coming to, we're still fearful. That genetic fearfulness, the need to belong to the group, never left us. So here we are today. However, over the last 10,000 years, something happened. There have been cataclysms on this earth many times, many times. And the world population has decreased and expanded, decreased and expanded. But since this last cataclysm, there was a change happened in the cosmos. human beings, we are vibrational creatures. But it's not just the human beings who are vibrational creatures. Every physical body in this universe is a vibrational item. I won't say creature, but they're definitely a vibrational item. Everything vibrates, everything has frequency, everything has electrical connections, so electrical connections of one sort or another. And 10,000 years ago, there was a shift in the vibrational energy that was reaching the earth. It dampened down our mental faculties, and it made us go downhill. The world, 10,000 years ago, the world was tough. We just had the deluge that is mentioned in the Bible, the ice caps, which reached about almost 2/3 of the world. There was just a section in the center which was temperate, but most of it was covered under glaciers. But then there was a shift, there was a mini breakdown, there was a change in the earth position, and the waters rose about 450 feet. Many people died. There was a diaspora. There was, from the previous cataclysm 13,000 and a half years ago, there was a small group of Atlanteans that had survived, and they had thrived for about 1,500 years. And they had maintained the information, their knowledge, their understanding. They managed to put that into places like India, China, Egypt, some places in South America. Some information was saved, but after the glaciers, we just went straight downhill. After the deluge, we went downhill. We went back to being primitive, and we became brutal. We had sacrifices. We had lost our connection with nature. And all we had left was fear. And so there was a separation within us. Human beings, we've got three brains. We've literally got the physical brain, the emotional hormonal brain, and we've got the mental brain. And if you dissect the brain, you can actually there are three separate sections. Most human beings, I won't go over the last 10,000 years, but most human beings today do not operate with those three brains. They're lucky to have two of them working in tandem. And it depends with the individual. Some will have their mind and their emotions, others will have their mind and their physical body. This is the most usual connections. What it means is that we are detached from reality. We do not know how to experience the world in front of us because our mind is telling us what the world is like. It's constantly chatting, chat, telling us words. We are interpreting the world around us. We are disassociated from the world. We don't know who we are. All we have is belief systems and suppressed emotions because the mind is constantly chattering because we contain so much trauma from our childhood within us. We're so fearful. And our minds will generate that fear within us to behave, to control ourselves, because we at that biological level, there's that part of us, that herbivore part of our nature that still wants to belong to the group. Mm. And to be ostracized from the group is a very fearful thing. And if we come back to today, this has been weaponized. It's the word of Sister Rua now. It has been weaponized against us.
Mm-hmm.
And this is how humanity is kept enthralled, so that they do not connect with their three brains, so they're all working at the same time. See, most people, by only operating from two brains, they're lucky to gain knowledge. And every now and then, the three brains come together. And now, poof, they have an insight. They understand something. When the three brains are working, we have understanding. When two brains are working, all we have is knowledge. And people tell us things, and there is no insight. There's no gut, yeah, that doesn't sound quite right. We need all the three brains to work together. Without that, our sense of criticalness, not self-criticalness, but the criticalness of the information which are given to us, we absorb it, we introject it, we do not digest it. It sits there like a stone in our system. And we don't want to go there. We don't want to look at that knowledge. We don't want to look at that information, rather, because it would then turn us into individuals. And that is threatening to us belonging to the group. And so this has been weaponized against us since the 1800s, late 1800s, when they began to set up schools. And from then on, it's grown. It's grown exponentially. Then governments, newspapers, they tell us how to be, who to be. You know, in the late 1800s, 1900s, people were very like jingoistic, in the sense of like the people believed in the power of God, invested on a king or a queen, and people were like very like, yeah, you know, nothing mattered but king and country or queen and country. And it was like a religious fervor that took hold of people. You know, when in the early 1960s, when I go to the cinema in the UK, they would the country, the hymn for the country, whatever you call that, the national hymn,
The anthem.
Anthem, thank you. It would come up, and people would stand up. Everybody would, well, just about everybody would stand up. By the 80s, nobody was bothering, and then it sort of like disappeared. They realized they were onto a loser, so they stopped that. So there's been a gradual shift, but not enough, because then the internet came, social media came, and they have found, Hollywood came, and they have found ways of maintaining the fantasy of who we are and what the world is all about. But what we never recovered was our hearts. We've never recovered our hearts yet. There's been loads of efforts. You know, there are, I mean, like if you take the Christians who they believe in Jesus and they believe in Jesus' heart and redemption, and there is a movement there to have Jesus in your heart. Okay, and that to me is very laudable, because that is definitely a way forward, and I am all for that. And I'm still a little bit concerned about a lot of the surrounding belief systems, but at least that can be pure. It can be a means of ingress to the heart and to the connection to spirit, because we all have spirit. There's most definitely a soul. I won't say a whole soul, but there's a soul fragment within each of us. And I will say a fragment because the theory that we have one soul in this lifetime and we die and that soul goes to hell or heaven or purgatory, whatever it is, that is a misconception. That is insinuating that our ego, our personality, our personae, that somehow that is synonymous with our soul. It is not. But our soul, which is beyond time, and it integrates with us in this present lifetime, has been here before in previous lifetimes. It's the same soul, or should I say, a fragment of that soul across time. So I have been here many lifetimes before, and I've experienced them, and I'm here today. And there's been a soul fragment in each of those lifetimes. And part of the reason why we're here is because we need to integrate our souls. And so our soul is doing its best to communicate with the ego, with the personality, which appears to be in charge, but it's not, because it's at the mercy of all the belief systems. And it can only communicate with us via our hearts. So the heart is the gateway for the soul fragment within each of us to be in the world, to experience the world. And that is the aim. So the battle for humanity's heart is literally this. It's literally to allow the soul within each of us to express itself in the world, because our world could literally be a paradise, but it's not possible the way the world is. So it brings me to my next point, which is that 10,000 years ago, there was a cosmic shift, and it was like a blanket just brought us down. But as from the 5th of January of next year, that will change. For the next 15 years, there is going to be a shift, and this will allow people, it will allow the heart, the soul within us, to begin to express itself a little bit more according to how damaged we are, how much trauma is still controlling us, how many belief systems are still telling us how to be, who to be, how to behave, how to relate with others. And already, I like to make the simile that on a summer's day, sunrise comes over the horizon and you see the sun appearing. But before the sun appears over the horizon, it's already light. It's a prelude. And so that prelude began in July. So gradually, there's going to be more and more light coming through. And people are beginning to wake up to the fact that the world is not the way it should be. And this will intensify. But there is a problem. The problem is we don't want to throw the baby out with the bathwater. We want to connect with our hearts. We want to see the world as it is. We want to realize that all these people who are telling us, governments, Hollywood, the media, left, right, and center, they're all giving us a vision of how the world is or should be. They are indoctrinating us constantly as to the way forward. As we begin to wake up, we see bullshit. That is not. It doesn't make sense anymore. And so people are going to react, and people are starting to react. We already hear it in the news, certainly on alternative news, that people are beginning to react in Europe, in America, in different ways. Changes are beginning to happen, but we do not want to become like them. We do not want to fight fire with fire. If you fight fire with fire, it's never ending. Everything burns. And we become what our enemies are. And they are enemies. I'm not going to mince words. There is a world on black and white. There's a lot of blackness, and there's a lot of grayness in the middle. And we want to be white. I'm saying this metaphorically speaking. I'm
Sure.
not saying this in a racial sense, but we want to be on the side of light. And that means we need to, first of all, we need to become awake. Yes, they're lying to us and the world is fucked up. This is not the future that I want for myself, for my children, for my family. And we start the change in ourselves. We start the change by focusing on, why don't I like myself? Whenever I tell myself over, the words in my head begin to tell me about what I dislike about me. Where does that come from? Who told me that? Did I absorb that by osmosis from the culture? Or did someone tell me? Did my parents tell me, you mustn't be this or you mustn't be that? Or did my school teachers tell me about this? Where does it come from? We need to change the dynamic. We need to start liking ourselves. We need to start liking who we are. We're all damaged. We've all come into the world damaged because the world is damaged. We can't avoid that. And so from the word go, our system has been distorted to a greater or lesser extent. But we grow up distorted, mangled. And now we're adults. We can, we can connect with the sunlight. We can connect with love. We can connect with good food. We can heal ourselves. But there's a little something which is now inbuilt into our structure. And that's not going to change. So we're always going to be damaged. And if we rely on our mind to tell us how we're damaged, we're fucked. We have to rely on our hearts. It's only from the heart that we can move beyond the mind, and we can look at ourselves with kindness, with appreciation, generously, lovingly, joyously. So we have to find our way back to the heart, because this is the only true change for the world. Anything else, the world's going to end up in ruins. We have to begin the process by liking ourselves, liking who we are. It's not going to happen overnight. You need to sit down. You need to focus on what you need to write down. I've written an article on my website about love and self-dislike. And if you look at that, it'll tell you how to proceed for now. Anyway, so that's really, really important. It's a really first step. Now, liking ourselves does not mean that we don't stand up to what's clearly unacceptable. Hopefully I can say this, but if there's 100 of you and someone is being beaten up by someone else, you need to man up, stand up and say, no, this is not acceptable. I'm not saying go and kill the other person, damage the other. I'm not saying anything like that, but I'm saying, no, this is not acceptable. And you need to put yourselves between the so-called victim and the perpetrator. And I don't care whether this is a member of the official corporations, I'll put it that way, who run the world, or some individuals who are having a fight. It doesn't matter who it is. We need to stop turning the other cheek. We need to stop being frightened. We need to say, oh, it's not me, someone else, move away. No, we need to collectively begin to say no. I understand fear, fear is in me, fear is in all of us. but somehow we need to find a way to stand up and say no. Not in my name, not acceptable. I won't stand for this. If it's only one of us, we're going to lose. It has to be a mass movement. I'm not saying today or tomorrow, although I can see what's going on at the moment. But once the 5th of January has come, from that day onwards, you need to grow a pair. We need to grow a pair. I need to grow a pair. My excuse is I'm 70 years old. But we do collectively need to grow a pair and say no.
Mm-hmm.
And I mean no as in, no, this is not acceptable. No, we won't do this. And I don't know how this will happen, but it needs to happen. And I know that it cannot happen unless we like ourselves.
Sure.
I mean, it's like the seed from which the tree will grow. We need to change. At the moment, we're fearful and we're full of self-disgust, self-dislike. We need to change that. Somehow, we need to find a way. And from my perspective, Charlie, he told me that I would be doing courses. I wasn't ready. I've been working with people on one-to-one. I've been writing articles for the last few years. I've been doing my best to disseminate information, and that strengthened, that writing has intensified the connection between Charlie and me. And as from next year, coinciding with the 1st of January, I am starting small groups. I'm starting in a small way, and I will be doing, to begin with, I can only deal with little people at a time, so a few at a time. So I'll be dealing with groups of 6 to 7 people. So a group of 6 or 7 people will come and work with me. I will work with them, and we will do 6 weekends from January to June. So 6 weekends, 1 a month. And the purpose behind that is that the group will expose their underbellies with each other. They will share their hurts, they will share their pains, they will share their beliefs which are affecting them in a wrong way, and they will wake up to who they truly are. And this is psychotherapy of a sort, except that it won't be me, it will be Charlie who will be working through me. And what Charlie can do that I cannot is he can see into another soul, and he can see what is blocking their heart, their connection with their heart in their emotions. And so he can guide me as to what to say and how to work with another human being. And this might be to do with the present, it might be to do with past lives, it might be all manner of things. I only know half of what I am going to do because he hasn't shared the full picture with me yet. So this will be for 6 weeks. And then the group, now this is really important, this group will bond. So I will be designing with Charlie. Charlie will be designing through me the structure of who are these 7 people that will come together in one group, and whether they're better in this group or another group. Because what will happen is that group of people will bond with each other, because there is no way that you can free yourself of all the damage just like that. We need support, and the support comes by having a group. We're groupies. We need to be in a group. We need to be in the right group. We need to be in groups that do not judge or criticize us, will support us, who will accept our hurts and who in turn will share their weaknesses with us, because that is what bonds people. When people are truthful and real with each other, that is what bonds people. And in our society, oh, I've got this friend, I got that friend, I got hundreds of friends. They're not your friends, they're your acquaintances. You cannot be yourself with them. You cannot say who you truly are. You cannot really go into your grief, your, whatever intense emotions you're unable to express in the world. You need to be safe. And so this is the purpose of the groups, to create safety and bonding, because after those 6 months, these people will be out in the world, and they will have, because growth comes from experience. It doesn't come from knowledge. It doesn't come from reading books. You have to experience it. And so they will go for 2 years, do their own thing, and then they'll come back to me for another 3 weekends just to finalize it after 2 years. And so the group is really, really important, because it's the group that will keep them going through those 2 years. They will help each other. So they will then become their own form of dispersion, whatever that means. And so I will do 2 groups at the same time, one every 2 weeks for the first 6 months. Then I'll do another 2 groups, and then I will repeat the following year. And after that, I will be in a position to do larger groups. I don't know how yet, but I will be in a position to work with many more than I will to begin with. So that's what's going to happen for me. That's my little bit for how to connect with our hearts. Now, I'm not the only one on this earth who's doing this. I'm sure you're doing it in your own way. And there'll be many more across the world doing the same thing. And as soon as January comes, there's going to be so many lights, ping, 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 going around the world, that people are going to wake up to their need to fix themselves, to heal themselves in a way that at the moment, people, they want to be healed. They go to someone, oh, heal me, fix my pains, fix my aches, give me some tablets for my headaches. None of that fixes anybody. In fact, the truth is no one can actually heal you. The only person who can heal you is yourself. You heal yourself by changing your diet, stop poisoning yourself with foods which are bad for you, with drugs, with alcohol. Stop doing all these things that addict you. There's so many things which keep us addicted, which stop us. And I understand, we need to do these things because we don't have the resources to experience the intensity of our emotions. So when their emotions begin to surface, we reach for whatever addiction is our favorite one, whether it's sugar or alcohol or ciggies or whatever else it is. We haven't learned it, they've taught it to us. Hollywood has taught us. It keeps teaching us all the time. This is what you do. When you are upset in some way, here's a glass of wine, here's a drug, here's a ciggy. It's in our faces, week in, week out. We imbibe this. We believe this is the way forward. No, that is the way we stay cut off from our hearts. To connect with our hearts, we need to change.
Okay. Really interesting. So the people who might be interested in signing up for your course, how would they do that?
On my website. To the right of my website, there is an advert saying journey beginning in 2025. At the top of the website on the right, there is something about 2025, things that I'm doing. So it's all in there. And many are going to be called, and it's not going to be right for everyone from the word go. Okay, some people people, they're better off waiting till next year. Some people I'll be able to work with straight away because they've reached a point in themselves. They themselves may be running groups, alternative groups, groups to do with inner freedom, or God knows, Reiki, call it what you will. There are just so many spiritual groups out there. They're all seeking for the light, but they're only looking with one eye. The other eye is closed. And I don't want to set myself up. I am the real deal.
Okay.
And I know this because I've been working with people for a few years now. And Charlie has been working through me. Even though I've been in the healing business for the last 35 years or so, give or take, I was never good enough, because a lot of the illnesses that people came to me with, they were to do with food. And I was trying to fix them, either with cranial or with acupuncture or with massage. I was always learning something else to help people with. And most of people's problems were really to do with food. However, underlying that, it's emotions.
Sure.
But how do we get to emotions when we don't want to go there? I mean, if it was that easy, everybody would be experiencing all the emotions under the sun, day in, day out, but they don't. We have certain emotions we experience, and there's a lot of emotions we react to. So there are some, if you compare that to a piano, you can play quite a few of the keys. Makes you human. But there's a few keys you can't. They just go dang, dang. And then what we have is reactivity. That's when we lose the plot, we get angry, we go timid, we are victims, call it what you will. And those areas, we don't want to go there. You work with people, you use hypnotism, hypnotherapy. And even there, you find that you can only go so far at any given moment in time. We just don't want to go there. We don't want to go there. No, it's not true that we don't want to go there. It's that we just actually literally don't know how, because our minds get in the way. As soon as we start to go there, the mind gets very busy. Beep, 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 beep. We disconnect from the emotions, because the mind is of the opinion, and that's my words, obviously, the mind is of the opinion that we are not capable of experiencing such emotional intensity.
Mm-hmm.
The truth is, we can, but we cannot do it overnight. We have to start at the beginning. If you want to get some water out of the barrel, you take water from the top. You don't go to the base of the barrel and try to scoop the bottom up. You work your way down from the top. And so this is the way it has to be. But it can be expedited, because there are moments and times when certain emotions can come to the fore much more easily, and we can expose our underbellies much more quickly. And all we need is the experience. And sometimes this experience can come from other people. So we are in the group, and there's one human being sitting there who goes into the intensity of some emotion, whatever it is. And you cannot help but being affected by that, because emotion is a vibration. It emanates from us. It affects the group around us, up to around 20 feet, more or less. So emotions affect those around us, for good or ill. So if we're sitting in a group and someone is going through a deep, intense experience, we are touched by that. And that allows us to realize we can actually experience much more intense emotions, which are much more intense than we think we can. Yeah, we learn by osmosis. And so it becomes easier for other members of the group to also experience intense emotions. And what it does is it bonds the group. So that's emotions. And what the place to get to the heart is that when the soul within each of us, when that expresses itself through our hearts, those feelings which arise in our hearts, they have no boundary. They will reach the whole world. It doesn't matter if you're in New Zealand and I am in Scotland. My feelings will reach you. And the power of feelings, I don't know, 1,000-fold more intense and capable of affecting another human being. So it doesn't take that many human beings who are connected to their hearts to start a chain reaction. And that's what we're after. So yes, there's only a few to begin, but those few are really important because it's what we do within ourselves that will affect the world. And these people don't appreciate. We are not separate from each other. We're all interconnected. Every single one of us. We sink or swim together. Let's swim.
Absolutely.